There's just a lot of things swirling around right now, and the president's trying to navigate that as best he can.
Brian, I want to ask you, 9 House Democrats have called for President Biden step aside out of 213 in the House. Do you see that number growing even with his efforts here? How much of this is down ballot Democrats worried about the impact on their own races this year?
Well, Greg, you covered politics, so that's an excellent question. You don't know whether some of these Dems are doing it really to protect their own flanks. But I think there is genuine concern in Washington, D.C. and around the country about the president and the president's acuity, his mental health, his cognition. These are undeniable. And if you read the tea leaves a little bit, the interview on ABC with George Stephanopoulos, while better than the debate with Donald Trump, it did not satisfy people in the party who think he's just too old to make this a real run for president.
Yeah, and Brian, going back to that letter that went out today, the president really making this appeal to democracy. We showed a portion of it in which he said voters of the Democratic Party have voted. I mean, do you think that line, that stance will actually land a little bit better?
I think so. I think it's an argument in his favor, reminding these members of Congress that the people in these various states have voted for him. His issue is that a lot of these discussions around his cognition and everything else came after all of these primaries and in that debate. And we talked about this in run-ups to the debate, that the debate was very important for him because it would show him being able to compete with Donald Trump without notes and just one-on-one, and it turned out that it didn't work well for him.
Brian, I want to shift to former President Trump. The RNC Platform Committee adopted its platform, aligning itself pretty much with Trump's campaign. It steps away from any verbiage about a federal abortion ban for the first time. So what do you gather from this move and what they believe will be a big issue in 24?
I think they are trying to read where red state voters are on this issue, number one. Number two, I think they're looking to have as little controversy at the convention as they can. I think they want to come in. I think they want to nominate Donald Trump and whoever Donald Trump's vice presidential pick will be. And I think they want all the focus on that, not on abortion, not on the 2025 plan and all these other things that swirl around Republicans. But I think they're saying, hey, what's going on the Democrat side of the aisle is just wonderful for us because there's a lot of confusion and deflection and all of that going on. And we're just going to have this very calm meeting in Milwaukee and get our person nominated and the vice presidential candidate nominated, and then we're going to move ahead.
Yeah. On that same note, though, when you talk about all of the publicity and what people have been talking about of late, it is not former President Donald Trump. How do you think he is handling, sort of the news cycle right now? And again, it is much of the focus on President Biden and concerns about him, but at the same time, there isn't much talk about the former president.
Well, it's a good question, and I think that whoever has gotten to former President Donald Trump has somehow convinced him to somewhat tone down the rhetoric. Now, we're still seeing him at these rallies, doing what Donald Trump does. But with respect to the health of the president and that sort of thing, there's been almost no commentary, a little bit, but much less than one would expect out of Donald Trump. And I think his advisors are probably jumping up and down with joy that they've been able to contain him just a little bit.
Yeah, a lot to talk about. 4 months from the election, a lot to watch this week. Brian Sobel, political analyst, always appreciate you joining us, sir.
My pleasure. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Brian.